Good morning, fret friends, and it is morning. It is 7:10 in the AM on this beautiful Saturday morning. I believe the date is it the 20th of November, year of our Lord 2021. And I'm up early, as I'm always up early. I'm a postman, I'm just used to being up early. So I always like to make a little time in the workshop before I go to work. But praise be, I'm not working today at Royal Mail. I've got the day off, I've got a Saturday off. That's because I have a meeting, I have a church meeting this morning where we have a gathering of churchmen and friends, and we're going for a breakfast. And these are things that I organise. I love organising them, and I'm able to get a day off from Royal Mail and get to do that this morning. So that brings me to this project on the bench, and what a gorgeous guitar I have. And this guitar is special to me in as much as it actually belongs to one of my church friends. In fact, one of our worship leaders at Ashwood Church. This is his guitar, and it's a beautiful thing, and I am honoured and blessed to be able to work on it and make it tip-top and Bristol fashion for him. And there it is. What a beautiful looking thing. And it is an Ibanez. This is special in as much as it's an old Ibanez. I believe I've been doing some research. I've discovered it's an RG470 made in Japan at the Fujigen factory, which, as most of you will know, is a very famous factory and a well-renowned builder. But this guitar is special not just because it belongs to my friend Andy. It's also that it's one of the very best spec RG470s I've ever seen. Now, this guitar originally is a 1992 model. It was out for a couple of years, decent spec. It was around for a couple of years. Now, it wasn't as much discontinued as they just stopped making it for a short while, but they reinvented it in 1998, and this is one of those 1998s. And what I love about this is the top spec, in as much as it as the Wizard 2 neck, as you know, is a very famous neck, very well renowned and well regarded. It does have the Edge Tremolo, I believe an Edge 2. The great thing about the Edge 2 Tremolo is it has a much thicker bass plate, and it has the angled, almost cheese wedge shaped bass plate. I don't know if you can see it from there. A great tremolo in its own right with fabulously thick fine tuners on there. Puts me in mind of the Goto Floyd Rose. Now, if you don't know the Goto Floyd Rose, in my mind it's the best Floyd Rose possible. Don't get me wrong, I love the original Charlemagne German Floyd Rose. It was one of my favourite things. I have a couple myself, and it is right up there. It's a top spec one, but the one I slightly prefer is the one made by Goto, which is under license. And the craftsmanship, the quality, the manufacturing of that tremolo is absolutely second to none. So I'm a big fan of Goto gear, and this puts me in mind of it. Look at the thickness and the size of these fine tuners, the best of the best. Coming back to Goto, we do have Goto machine heads on there. So this is the highest spec of this incarnation of the RG470. You have the standard V8 bridge and the V7 neck humbuckers, and you have the let's have a look, just check this one. Is it the S1? Yes, the S1 single coil in the middle. Your switching options, you've got a 5-way. I'm not certain of what the 5-way does, but I know that's full humbucker. That is in the middle is just the middle pickup, and in 5th position it is just full neck. So in here, this will give you an incarnation of the neck and the middle. I think just this coil is on and this one is off. So you have single coil, like a Strat, and in the position, what I call position 2, I think this coil's off, this one's on, and this one's on. I think that is the way. I will have to check a diagram and find out. So, what is wrong with this guitar? Well, there's not particularly anything wrong with it, but there are things that do need attention. Now, I've already been across the frets with a fret rocker, and straight away this guitar needs a fret level. We have at least 10 frets that are rocking, so we have high spots on the frets. That is not a surprise to me, never is. It's a 23-year-old guitar. In fact, this was made in April 1998, so it makes it 23.5 years old, or that is the spec given, or the dates given at the factory, which means it was obviously built, probably made in about 1997. I wouldn't be surprised if we found that this was a neck from an RG550, because that does happen on some of the earlier models. You get a slightly better neck, but these necks were used on many of the Ibanez guitars of that era. And one thing to note, by the way, the higher the number on an Ibanez, the better the guitar. So if you start with an RG250 but get up to a 550, your 550 is going to be getting up there. So this is a 470, so this is a mid to higher range guitar. Putting a price on it back then, I wouldn't be able to do that. I would have thought back then this would have maybe cost you £500 or £600. Not sure. Could have been as low as 400. Again, not sure. Andy will know better than I know. But that said, you can pick these up for, I've been looking, anything between 250 and 450 pounds. One Spectre like this, you probably get someone asking 500 or 600. They are not fetching that. People are not buying. I've seen one for £700 on eBay and on Reverb recently. It is not as good as this. It doesn't have a better tremolo. Everything else is spec'd more or less the same. For insurance purposes, you are not going to get a better example than this. It's almost flawless, which I would expect of Andy. It does not surprise me at all that this guitar is in such fabulous condition. Myself, what would I pay for this? I would not be shy and be disgruntled at paying £700 for something like this, and for insurance purposes, I'd definitely insure this for £1,000 myself. That is my gut feeling. That is from a knowledge I've garnered over a few years I've been doing this job. I would value this at around £1,000, certainly for insurance purposes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip it basically and rebuild it. So I'm going to strip it down and rebuild it from the back up. We do have problems with the controls. The volume pot is not working properly. The higher you turn it, the lower the volume seems to go. It's scratchy, as is the tone. I'm going to get in there with some switch cleaner and clean them up and see if that fixes anything. In fact, I don't use deoxit. I use Servicol Super 10. I've always used that. If that doesn't fix the problem, I will replace the pots. I do think I have some very similar pots knocking about in my parts drawer. Some new old stock Japanese ones as well, which would be perfect for this guitar. Failing that, I will go and purchase some new pots. Probably get myself some pots from my friend at Six String Supplies. He stocks at CTS pots, but he has them built to his own specification. So they're an SSS pot. So I'll go and see Ed there, see what he's got in line of pickups I'm looking for. He knows I do like a vintage taper, so I would like to go with a nice volume sweep and a nice tone sweep if we do change them. I'm going to strip the tremolo, rebuild that from the back up, check everything on that. I'm going to give it a good clean. We're obviously going to get the strings off and the knot off and everything. We are going to set the neck dead straight. We're going to level the frets because the frets are up and down all over. I will show you that in more detail later on in this video. But yeah, so we're going to level the frets. Once they're leveled, we're going to be flat top. We're going to re-crown them. We're going to polish them up. We're going to treat the fingerboard to some mineral oil, which one nourishes the wood, and two will get all the grime and sweat and stuff that's accumulated over the years from that. So basically a strip and rebuild. We'll be restringing it. We'll put some 10-foot Diodero 1046s on there. We'll make sure the tremolo, strip and rebuild the tremolo. So quite an intensive job. We're basically going to give it an intensive setup, and we are going to give it a fret level. We'll change the pots if we need to. So it's having a lot of work. I would price a job like this at around, well, not around, it'd be exactly £150 plus parts, so plus strings, plus pots if we need to change them. I will not be charging Andy that. Andy gets a mate's rate. I'm not going to tell you what I'm charging him. But yeah, but this is one I'm really looking forward to doing. It's a fabulous, fabulous looking guitar. I do love these. Not something I'd go out and buy for myself, you know, like and where I am right now. I do have some unique and special guitars, and I really do have all the guitars I need. But I would not be, if I was offered one of these at a good price, I would certainly consider buying it. So a great guitar, one I'm very much looking forward to working on, and that is as much as I can really say about it right now. So back soon. Back friends, first and foremost, I make no apologies for the dim light conditions. It is 7:30 AM in December, year of our Lord 2021, and I will shortly be going to my job at Royal Mail. I don't start till 8 o'clock today, but it's the best light I've got in the workshop, so I hope you can see a little bit. So you'll see I've stripped the guitar, removed the tremolo, removed the locking nut, removed the strings. One very nice surprise, the truss rod adjuster. On these Japanese models, they have the barrel adjuster, which uses this type of wrench, which is a lot better than the ones with an Allen key insert, because the Allen key inserts tend to strip over time. These don't. It's a bolt in effect, using one of these barrel jack type adjusters, 7mm one in this case, which I do have a 7mm. So that's fabulous. So that's going to enable us to get the neck dead straight before we level the frets. And that is what I'm going to do this morning. Well, I'm going to do it now before I go to work. But what I must do is I must get the pickups out of the way, because I don't be coming across here with a levelling beam and hitting the pickups. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop the pickups right down into the body. I'm going to cover them. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the pots are really scratchy. We're going to have a look at the pots in a short while as well. And we're going to get some switch cleaner in there. Service on 10 in my case, which is my choice of switch cleaner. It's the good gubbins, but we'll talk more about that in depth a little bit later on. So what I need to make sure of right now is that we have enough clearance. So I'm taking a level there, and I have at least 4 or 5 more clearance above the pickups, which is fabulous, but that is not enough. It is enough clearance, don't get me wrong, but that is not enough to enable us to level frets. We need to cover the pickups, so we're going to give this a wipe. This guitar is really dusty. I know where this guitar's kept and hung, so it will get dusty. And what we're going to do is we're going to cover the pickups to stop us getting any unscoured detritus, dust, filings or what have you in the pickups. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab some Scotch 3M tape. This blue stuff, I always stock this. This trick I got from Nigel Roberts out in Frankston there, who once known as Leicester Shalufia. He's now retired. What a great guy. What he doesn't know about guitar work is not worth knowing. But anyway, back to this. We're going to cover the pickups completely so we don't get any filings in there. And that is plenty enough. I am going to be levelling the frets with the neck on the body. When it comes to recrowning the frets, I'm probably going to take the neck off. But it just makes it easier to level. So we are there with that. That's all covered. Just put my bits all back together, get that out of the way. So what I need to do is I'm going to need to get the neck dead straight using not straight edge. My precision tools are all made by GMI, not all, but most of them made by GMI in Greece. Is currently not doing anything. Now this guy, Harris, doesn't just make tools, he makes precision guitar parts. He makes bridges, saddles and everything. There is Halon guitar parts, I believe. This guy's an absolute wizard. I've seen him making these, I've seen the CNC machine he uses, I've seen his milling device for straightening and leveling them. It is second to none. This is as good as anything I've had from Stumac, in fact even better than some things I've had from Stumac. So it is right up there. Scale length on this, 25.5, like a Strat or a Super Strat should be. We do have a little bit of back bow in there, so we're going to slacken off the truss rod using the 7mm adjuster. We're going to remove that, just loosen off, check again, because we want this neck dead straight before we level the frets. Straight neck, level frets, means your guitar can be a world beater, and that's any guitar. Still got a little bit of back bow in there. Just keep going. It does take a few seconds for a neck to settle. Right, we have the truss rod completely loosened off. Now if it doesn't go back to straight with the truss rod completely loose like it is now, we're going to have to put this on a neck jig and we're going to have to slightly bend the neck backwards using force. I think we just have a little bit of relief in there, which means we're not going to have to go on the neck jig, which is brilliant because it makes it a lot quicker and easier for me. Now, no. Oh yeah, we have relief in there. The great thing about that is to remove a relief, we need to tighten the truss rod. And with it being loose, we're able to do that. So you see how loose it is, because I did loosen it a couple of notches. And I should tighten it right up with my fingers first. So if I give this, that's loose. That is just coming up to pinching, just on the thread there. So all I'm going to do is, I'm going to give it round about 1/8 of a turn. And that should be enough to straighten the neck. That, my friends, is a perfectly straight neck. I'm just going to grab a light and shine it behind the frets, just so I can see for any gaps. In this case, my phone light. There is a very, very slight gap under there, so we can go with another little bit of a turn. I'm probably going to go a 1/16 of a turn now, or maybe even a 32, so we're more or less upright. So we're just going to go that much. That is it. A little is a lot when it comes to a truss rod, and that, my friends, is a straight neck. I'm happy with that. So, where we are right there, neck is perfectly straight. We're going to check the frets one more time. Taking I have 2 fret rockers, they're both by GMI. Both exactly the same piece of kit. I could use either or. This is my old one I've been using for a year or so, probably a little bit longer. It's perfectly straight. And we're just going to go over the frets again and check and see where we are. You need reprofiling anyway, so it doesn't matter how many are high. They're not in terrible condition. The fingerboard's a bit yucky and gooky, so what we're going to do is we're going to spray it with some mineral oil. We're going to let it soak in. We're going to scrape all that detritus and finger sweat and grime and horribleness. That's very high. We're going to scrape that all off. So you're listening to the rocking on the fret, so you can see we definitely need a fret level. Yep, some really quite high ones here. A high fret is a high fret. I don't let any guitars go out of this workshop, I was going to say room, with high frets. It's why I'm fret friend. Any guitar neck in the world, whether it's made by Squire or it's made by Heritage or PRS, whatever, custom shop, if a neck is not straight and the frets aren't level, no matter what guitar it is, no matter how much it costs, the guitar's never going to play right. So you can get a £30 second-hand Squire with a straight neck and level frets, and it's going to play as good as any other guitar on the planet. And you can get a £5,000, £7,000, £10,000 guitar, a couple of high frets, it's never going to play as well as that £30 Squire. Once the neck is straight and the frets are level, anything else can be altered. Absolutely anything. Pickups, body, electrics, nut, tuners, what have you. But if the neck's not right, the guitar will never be right. It's why I'm fret friend. It's why I concentrate on neck and fretwork. You know, because it's where it's all at. If the neck's not right, the guitar will never be right. But anyway, that's it. That's where we are. I'm ready to level these. I'm not going to do it right now. I'm just going to check the time. We are 7:33. I may do it before we go to work. I'm just going to go and prep my tools, my leveling tools. I'm going to check our level the neck is again. Now I've given it time to settle, and the truss rod the neck to settle because I've adjusted the truss rod. And another good look right there, I could just do with another very slight nip of the truss rod. Holding this so it doesn't fall over, drop and scratch the guitar body. I will just give it another little nip. So we are there. I'm just going to give it another that much. That's it. So I've gone from there to there under tension. That should get me exactly where I need to be. Right, there is no gap there right now. I'm perfectly happy that that is as straight as I can get the neck. Now necks are never perfectly straight. You'll always get a little bit of undulation. You'll always get a little bit of up, down along the length. So you try and get it as straight as you can. And I'm talking nths of inches here. We're talking very, very tiny amounts where it undulates. So there's no great shakes. But what we do then is people mistakenly think that the level is the wood or the fingerboard. It isn't. Your level is the tops of the frets. Your playing surface are the frets, not the wood. Because your point of contact behind anything is the fret, not the fingerboard. So the fingerboard is not your level playing field. Your frets are. It's why I'm fret friend. Do you understand that? It's really quite easy to understand. Your neck may slightly go up and down, but your frets will be perfectly level, and that's your playing surface. Because you play a note behind a fret, so you're just bending the string behind each fret. Very good. So there you go. So I'm just going to let that settle a minute. I'm going to get a light behind it again, check again. Once I'm happy that that is straight, we can get the leveling beam out, and we can come and we can level these frets. Just got a quick couple of minutes just to show you how we level frets. With the neck now dead straight, the guitar firmly placed on a bench, I'll take my Crimson Guitars leveling beam. Now these two edges, top and bottom, are milled precision flat. I have two, I'll buy this on a reel. I have emery board, 240 grit on the bottom, 400 grit on the top. The 240 grit on the bottom is going to remove the main material. The 400 grit on the top is going to smooth it off and remove some of the deeper scratches. So I could mark these all up with pen. There's no point right now because I do need to level frets. So all I'm going to do is, starting at the centre, I'm going to level the frets. When I get to the edge, I will not be following the line of the neck. I'll be following this edge here. So there'll be a slight overlapping at the end because the radius is the full width. So basically self-explanatory. Just going to, with the 240, making sure I've got the 240 grit down, which I have. I'm going to start in the centre, and I will feel resistance. And when the resistance gets less, I know the frets are more or less level. And I'm just going to work my way to the outer edge. And it's going to take me a few passes following that radius. It's going to take quite a few passes to get the frets level. Try and remove the same amount of material off all of the frets, so keep a uniform file going, or a beam should I say. Now you can't see this, but I can see the tops of the frets where material has been removed, and there's places here where it's not been touched. That's because the frets are higher, so we still need to be removing. Alright, now I'm not pressing down too hard on this beam, in fact hardly at all. I'm letting the beam do the work, even though it's not heavy. Let the beam do the work, and I'll concentrate a little bit more weight at this end because the frets are more compact here. So where I've got 11 frets there, or 12 frets there, I've also got 12 frets here in this short space. And that starts to feel a little bit smoother. So what I do then after that is, or after a little bit of work, is I will come back and check the frets again. Now what I would like to do is remove all of the filings. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to check all the frets again. Now what I'm going to do next time is I'm going to get some marker pen. I'm going to mark the tops of the frets. This is all something I'm going to do later because I'm going to work now. This fret was high, it's no longer high. So you've seen where we are. So I'm going to come back and check all of this when I've finished my shift at Royal Mail this afternoon. But I can see where the frets have had material removed. And just about all of the frets have had material removed. So we're more or less level. I will come back and check precisely after my shift at Royal Mail. This is going to go back in its case, as they always do between shifts. And I will come back and give you an update in a few hours' time. I didn't get any work done in the afternoon like I wanted to, so we are next day in the morning. We are just past 6 AM. And you saw me levelling the frets. We didn't get them perfectly leveled. I did say I was going to come back and show you later how we got on. Frets 13, 15 and 23 still have high spots, so what I'm going to do in this instance is, because they are quite high, it's going to be a lot quicker if I use a file rather than the sanding beam. So I'm using a levelling file. This is a diamond coated file, precision straight, made by Chris Allsop in the UK. A fantastic piece of kit. And I'm just going to basically just lay it on the frets, and this will remove material very quickly. And once you stop getting resistance, you'll know the frets you're working on are level. So I'm concentrating around this area. And I'm working frets 13 and 15 at the same time, and I'll come up to 23 in a minute. But we can use the file for the whole neck if we want to. It really is a great tool, this. And it removes a lot of material in a short space of time, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep checking. And then we're going to finish off again. Just a little bit high there. Fret 15, try that one. And still high there. Don't worry that you think you're removing too much material. You can't, because the other frets around are the level. And we're going to level the whole lot in one fell swoop anyway. Feels like it's pretty good. So let's check the areas again. Fret 13 is now fine. Fret 15 is now fine. Fret 23 is still a little bit high on this edge. I'm going to check all of the frets. Just check for level. And then we'll finish off with the levelling beam. Now looking at the amount of material removed, especially in this area, quite a lot of material, it's going to be easy for me to rework these frets with the neck off of the guitar. So I'm going to remove the neck for recrowning later on. Now that is going to be quite a bit later on. We'll not be working on the guitar this afternoon. I'm going out today with my sons and a brother. We're going to play snooker. Today being a week before Christmas, year of our Lord 2021, with our Saturday the 18th of December today. And we get together quite regularly actually. But checking these frets, seems like we are now level. I've got a high fret there. High fret number 10, or fret 10. There we go, so we're just going to work this one. Fret 10. That's that one done. can be quite daunting when you do this job for the first time. You might be a little bit scared thinking I'm taking too much material off. Trust yourself. Trust that you can't just gouge a load off at one end unless you really just concentrate on one end. You know, like some kind of mad fool. But that is saying we've got rid of all the high spots. So what we're going to do now is we're going to mark the tops of the frets. It's a permanent marker. It's a permanent marker that's just about dead. So we're going to stick that in the bin. We'll grab another one. This is not a permanent marker, but it'll still do the job. This is purple, this one. We're just going to mark the tops of the frets. And we're going to attack it with a levelling beam again. And if we've got the frets level along the whole length, just within a few strokes, all of this pen will be gone. So I've marked the tops of all the frets. I'm going to be going across with the 240 grit because we are re-levelling. 240 grit there. Shine a light on there, but I do believe that those frets are level along the whole length. There is no pen on the top of these frets, which means the frets are level. Is that a little bit there? That one maybe have a little bit of ink on there. Let's just have a check. Just in this area, it means we've got a high spot next fret along. And we don't, so it's just the light playing tricks on my eyes. Hang on. Yes, we do. Again, fret 10 is still a little bit high. Exactly the same again. I'm going to mark the frets up again. I'm going to mark the frets up with a pen, which is a little bit easier to see. So let's go with a blue. Nice dark blue. Now you'll notice I'm now remove material from all of the frets and where the frets have this lovely crown going this way, we're going to be flattening them, so we're to rebuild that crown. That will be the next job once I've got all the frets level. So let's get them level first. And if these frets are level, it should take a dozen or so strokes with a levelling beam and all of the silver on the frets should be exposed. So again, we'll just clean the beam. That feels nice and smooth. Tiny bit of blue on fret 11, it means we're still slightly high on this 10th fret again, because a little bit of blue there, but we are talking a minuscule amount now. Just check again. That fret has been really stubborn, so I'm just going to just tap that down. Might just be slightly unseated. That's 11, that's 10. Still high, so this fret is still high. If the worst came to the worst and it was an unseated fret, we'd take it out, we'd replace it. But I don't think that's the case, I just think it's a particularly high fret. Still. I think we're there. Still a tiny bit high. I would be thinking that's probably springing back up. That could just be a loose fret. Still saying it's high. That is not right. I think this is a loose fret. I may have to remove this. See if I can feel it moving. Can't see it moving. Keep going. I'm not pressing down on this, I'm just letting the file do the work. Back to a levelling beam. That is saying we are now level. And again, let's try a different colour. I do like to use these pens the same amount each, so they all run out at the same time. So we're now going to go with red. Very odd that that kept showing high. Normally means we've got a loose fret. But what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to use a 400 grit side because it's a finer grit. It can remove some of these deeper scratches. So I'm thinking these frets should be level now, and if they're not, we do have a loose fret. It does happen. Sometimes they do become unseated and sometimes they stay a little bit loose. So with the 400 grit, and there is no pen on the tops of any of these frets. That means we have got the frets level along the whole length. Just going to finish off with the 400 grit. Pressing really lightly, letting the file do the work or the beam do the work. Just so I've got a uniform amount of material removed from all of the frets along the whole length of the neck. It means we remove the same amount of material on that side as this side. Slightly, a tiny bit less on the far side. I'm just going to even that up. That, my friends, is frets levelled. Same amount of material removed from this side and this side. I can see it's all uniform across the whole length of the frets. In that area, which is great because we remove the same amount from that side as we have this side. So with them level, the scratches are not completely removed, but they are a lot finer, make it a lot easier to recrown and polish these up later on. So I'm just going to remove all the dust and such like from there. Nice and gentle, just wipe it away. Like I say, when it comes to recrowning, I'm going to remove the neck rather than leave it on the guitar. You can leave it on the guitar and I'd tape over these areas and work, but when I said to get a file and bring it down, it's going to start digging into this area of the body. We don't want that. So we're going to bolt the neck to a piece of, to basically a plank, piece of MDF, 30mm MDF, which will give us more. We can only come this wide, gives more area, and if we do dig into anything, we're going to be digging into the plank and not into the guitar body. So that's that for now. I need to prep the fingerboard ready for recrowning the frets. So what we're going to tape up the fingerboard, just leave the frets exposed, and we can get this all ready for recrowning the frets. I'll explain exactly what recrowning is in the next part of the video. I'll get this all on camera. I'm going to remove the neck from the guitar. Now these are both 4 bolts. It's not your regular standard setting on the neck bolts. They're offset here, so but I also want to get 3 in. I do have a piece of pre-cut MDF. Which will take the neck, so I can bolt it straight onto the neck. Longer bolts at the body end, shorter bolts at the neck end with these, I believe. And they do have inserts. I'm not going to need the inserts. Remove the neck, and we can get the body out of the way. So we're not going to damage the body because it's not. So the neck's no longer attached to the body. So we're going to place these screws just out of the way slightly. Just check the length. I do believe the ones are a little bit shorter. They are a little bit shorter. And hopefully, this piece of MDF I've got to bolt the neck to will have some correctly spaced holes in it. Let me just bring the camera back just so we can see. So what we're going to be doing is matching up those 2 match, and those 2 just about match. Maybe we've got a better fit at this end. Those 2 match, and those 2 don't match. Okay, we're going to go with this end. So let me see where we are. I'm going to be going with that one, and that one. So 2 long ones. I'm going to be doing this probably a little bit off camera. Let's just see where we are. These should fit. Shorter bolts might not work. If the bolts don't work, like that one don't seem to be working at the moment. Where do I need you to go? Ha 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 ha. You are working, that's good. Good screwdriver. Even if I only get 2 bolts or 2 screws in, it's fine, it'll do the job. There's one. This is basically acting as a surrogate body. And 2 bolts will be enough, because all I'm going to be doing is working on the frets. So that's my surrogate body. And now there you go. I'm going to be working over the piece of wood rather than over the guitar body. It's a little bit skew width, but that's fine for what I need it to do. So I can now work on the frets, and we've got no danger of dinging a file into the body of the guitar. I've squared up the neck to the board. I've also put in the 3rd screw, so we're nice and secure. We're not going to get any kind of wobble we don't want. Not that we would have done anyway, it'll be fine. So surrogate body, neck, the frets are level, neck's straight to the board, so we can work. And now I can work with a file and any files without, because the body's going to sit at this height. Now we've got this bolted to this piece of MDF, so we've got all this extra height. So if I put a file even at that angle, which I'm not going to, we're only going to go at that angle, we can't, obviously, we won't cause any damage to the body because we've got the neck off the body. So that's great news. So the next thing we need to do is we need to tape off the frets. And I have this great piece of kit from Stumac with 3 different size tapes on there. And I always try and use the same amount of tape on each, it's why I've got 3 different widths. There's a thicker at this end, the medium and the thin. What we're going to do is I'm going to tape up the side of the neck. So I just need to lift it for this. So you can't see what I'm doing at the moment, but that's just to get a strip of tape down the side of the neck. This will make it easy to remove the tape later, as I will shortly explain. And let me just show you here. If we put a strip down the side there, let's move this out of the way. I'm going to do this off camera. I'm just going to show you how this works. So with that strip, I'm going to get some of the thicker tape. And when it comes to removing this, I'm just going to pull that up and it's going to remove all of the tape. Don't to be like rocket science. So let me just show you how we go on with this. So when we've got these little overlaps, we'll just take a bit, we'll rip it in half. So we get more out of our rolls of tape. Like so. Don't really need to tape that bit up, but just do it to make it look nice. So you get the idea. We're taping up the whole fingerboard, just so I can work on the frets and I don't dig the file to the fingerboard and put any scratches or dints in there. And this is going to take me a while to do this. And as I get further up the neck, I'll use a thinner tape, so on and so forth. And you see how it works. So we're going to mask off the whole of the neck, just leaving the frets exposed. Again. Right up to the other end. So you see how this is working. I think you get the general idea. I wouldn't normally include this on the video, but people tend to like all this stuff. Yeah, so. So you see how this is all working, and when I get to this end, I'm using the thinner tape, like so. And you get the rough idea. And when we use the middle area, again, that was a little bit wide, so what we're going to do there is, when we get to that piece, just rip it down the middle there. So you see how it's all working there. So I've got an extra piece there, so but that's it. I'm going to get it all taped up off camera. Once that's done, we'll come back and I'll show you how we go about crowning the frets. Okay, I know the light is not fantastic, but we are going to be crowning the frets. By crowning, because we leveled the frets, they are now flat across the top this way, and we need to rebuild that crown, which is basically that. So we're going to remove some material from the sides and leave a nice thin line down the centre. You'll see I've got it marked up with some blue pen. Now unfortunately I don't have a permanent marker with any ink in it, so we're using semi-permanent. Now in the old days we take a 3-cornered file like this. The edges are ground, not flat, but the safe edges. So what we do is, we're not going to dig into the wood because it's got a safe edge in. What we'd do is we'd file and we'd roll the file over, and this side we'd do the same again. We'd file across, then we'd roll the file that way, and we'd gradually build up that crown. We don't have to do that anymore because we have better tools at our disposal. This being a Z file from Stuart McDonald. It's a diamond file. It's got a long shallow cut and a deep short cut there. Turn it 180 degrees, the complete opposite. And the great thing about this file is it will cut and remove a lot of material, but it will not touch the top of the fret. So because we've got the height correct along the whole length of the neck, we're not going to remove any material from the top of the frets, but we are going to rebuild that crown. And the best way to explain it is to show you. I've actually removed a short amount from this side and a lot from this side at different angles. I turn it 180 degrees, do the same again. And that has left a thin blue line across the top of the fret. It has rebuilt that crown for us. Now, because this is just a square straight cut, we do need to finish off with what I call a profiling file. Again, a diamond file, so it's got diamond grit in there, but this is the perfect crown shape. And all we're going to do is we're going to remove any unevenness, and this has given us that perfect crown. And because we still have that thin blue line down the centre, we've not removed any height. It means the frets are still level and will remain level along the whole length of the neck. So I'm just going to do a couple more. Just going. You might think this line on the top is a little bit thick. If it is a little bit thick, go across again. So something we always do. I'm just going to pull back just a little bit so you can see more. We always clean the file after the fret. Same with this one, and you'll see. There you go. And on to the next one. Much easier with these files, but they don't come cheap. This file, I believe, is one I'm using right now, cost me £125. But it's worth its weight in gold to me. I've had it, I don't know, 18 months, 2 years, I'm not sure, and it's still working. I've done stainless steel frets with it a couple of times, and it's still fantastic. I actually do have a backup one of these, brand new, still sealed, and it's lasted me 2 years so far, so 125 quid over 2 years, it's nothing. I have found it's better to spend the money and go and get the very best of the tools, and Stumac make the very best luthier and guitar tools. So it's worth spending the money. You might be thinking, why don't I just use this file on its own? Well, one, it's an old file, but two, I believe you get a better crown by using this file and removing most of the material first with this file, and finishing off with this, just removing any burrs or any unevenness. And again, we'll check the height, and that's all tickety-boo. Again, clean the file. I don't think I'm just doing this for camera. I clean the files every fret, as you would, as you're supposed to. But there you go, I'm going to crack on, I'm going to mark the rest up, I'm going to get the rest of them done, and once that's done, the next stage will be polishing, so I'll come back and explain how we do that. I've changed tack a little bit because these are such wide frets. Using my StewMac file is as good as it is, it's leaving too wide a bit on the top. So I've gone and grabbed my new file. Well, I bought this last year. It's by a company, I think it's by Elma or Elmer's. And it costs about 65-70 quid. It's a diamond file. And this again is a crowning file. It has got the crown built in. So I thought I'd give this a little go. And it's doing really, really well. It's where I've got a thick line down the centre. This is really thinning it out. And it's just a matter of letting the file do the work. And we've got a nice thin line down the middle now. Now this bit is curved bit. This is when you're normally working over a body. So if your neck was still attached to your body, you'd be able to work on this without having to use your file this way and hold it at an angle. You can just use it like so. So yeah, great piece of kit. It's working really well at the moment. You might just see behind my leg here, I've got my allergen heater on there. My dog's nose is going in the way of it. He likes to lay right on it, this dog. He's daft as anything. He'll lay there till he burns. Hey Ross. And here he is. He's a good boy. He's the best boy, aren't you? Hello. Say hello to the camera. No, you're not saying hello to the camera. You're saying, Dad, move out of the way so I can get close to the fire, is what you're saying. But yeah, great piece of kit, this file. I thought I'd give it a try. If I'd have bought a StewMac version of this, it would cost me about 140 quid, and I thought, well, I'm not paying that for one file, even though in time I probably will do. I always find it better just to pay what they're asking, because you're going to get good tools. Yeah, this is working really well. We're getting a lovely crowned fret. So I'm going to get this finished off camera, and once that's done, we're going to move on to the polishing, and I'll bring you back in and show you how we get on with that. So, polishing frets, and we polish for two reasons. One, to remove scratches, and two, to bring them up to a nice shine. Once I've finished with these frets, they will be glass-like. So, anyway, 7 grits of sandpaper. This is 400 grit. This will remove the deeper scratches going this way. So we go just that way. I always adapt a glove as well. Keep these 2 fingers covered because that's what I polish with. Blah, 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 blah. And we'll go with the 400 grit, and we're polishing that way. And once we've gone with that, I've got 6 more grits, this being the 600 grit. So I've got 400, 600, 800, 1000, 1200, 1500 and 2000 grit. So 7 different grits. And it takes a while, as it would. I've already gone through with the 400 and the 600, so we're now moving on to the 800 grit. And it's just a matter of polishing over mainly the tops of the frets. 24 fret guitar, I'll get 8 frets done with this bit, 8 done with the middle and 8 done with the bottom bit. So it's just a matter of getting over the top, and then a little bit on each side, and move on to the next one. painstakingly boring sometimes. I do have something on my iPad to get me through this. It's going to take me a while. I've got 7 different grits of sandpaper and one lot of steel wool. So 8 times 24, 192 polishers, or we're polishing basically 192 frets. Like I say, it's going to take me a while. So I'm going to crack on with it, and I will come back later on and show you the results. Okay guys, been across, or been polishing with 7 different grits of sandpaper, 400 grit through 2000. Get rid of that, it's going in the bin. We just have to finish off with the steel wool. This being the finest grade steel wool you can get. It's grade 0000 or super fine. It's just a matter of pinching the wire wool over the frets and finish off polishing. And I guarantee that these will be glass-like. We already know that they're level, we already know that they're re-crowned, and now they're polished. So these will be as good as, if not better than new. I absolutely guarantee you that frets don't leave a factory perfectly level. I know that from experience, from how many I have to level out of the factories. Especially nowadays. Maybe in the early days, in these Japanese guitars, maybe they were a little bit better, but so a lot of frets to level on this one. That said, it is an old guitar. Did we establish this was in 1997 or 1999? I don't quite remember. Whenever it was. These frets have been in a long time. This is a simple part, finishing part. Once this is done, we'll remove the tape. We're going to spray the fingerboard with some mineral oil. You know it is lemon oil. And let it soak in. We're going to scrape off all the grime, the sweat and the nastiness that's accumulated. It'll also nourish the board itself. We do like to nourish the darker woods, the open grain darker woods. Talking pale ferro, rosewood, ebony, what have you. This will be a rosewood board. And I recommend at least once a year we nourish the fretboard. Give it a good clean. Which is what I'm going to be doing shortly. Now, from the angle you're looking at, these frets might not look spectacular, but trust me, they are beautiful. Three more to do. And that is it. And they look absolutely wonderful. I can see from the LED light up there how good these look. They are superb. So get rid of the gloves, get rid of that. This can all go in the bin. Remove the tape. And this is why I put tape down the side, that strip there. It should just help us when we come to removing tape from the sides. To say it's low tack tape, it does stick really well. Things it's been on there a couple of days now. You see how it helps us just get a start. And I know my elbow's in the way, I know you can't see a great deal, but so it's all working, especially here on this envelope. Nice long strip there, and it just gives us a start on all of the tape we need to get off. And there you go. And we can now really get into it. Now, if this was a lacquer board, I'd be removing this a lot more carefully because it has been known to remove lacquer, especially on the cheaper guitars. I'm thinking Harley Benton's. Yeah. But there you go. That's the frets all done, levelled, recrowned, and polished. We're not finished yet. Plenty more work to do yet. Well, not plenty more, but a bit more. Excuse me, more like it's a sky. There you go, that's all the tape removed. So the fingerboard is looking, well, the frets are looking fabulous. We do need the fingerboard. You'll see my halogen heater down here. It's really cold in this room today. Well, it certainly was when I came in here a while ago. It's warmed up sufficiently nicely now. Also had the central heating on. It seems a shame to put the whole central heating on just to warm one room. So there you go. Mineral oil. You know it's lemon oil, especially formulated by the guys that know what they're doing. This is not Kaiser brand, this is another brand, I think it's Teardown. I'll just use this bottle because it's got a spray nozzle. Especially formulated for your darker woods, your pal ferro, ebony, rosewood, what have you. Especially formulated to treat the wood and to clean. The companies that make this stuff, you've got PV makes some, Teardown, Dunlop, whoever, Kaiser. Good stuff, smells nice. It is mineral oil. We put some lemon essence in there to make it smell nice. That's why people call it lemon oil. It's not lemon oil. Does lemon oil even exist? If it did, it'd rip your wood to pieces. So there you go. We're going to let that soak in. Wipe it off in 15-20 minutes. Once that's done, we can look at getting the neck back on the guitar. In the meantime, I'm going to go and clean the pots on the guitar and clean the electrics. Get some switch cleaning there, make sure the electrics are all working alright, and once that's sorted out, we'll put the neck back on, put all the gubbins, the locking nut and what have you, back on the headstock, and we'll put the guitar back together, and we'll look at getting some strings on. I imagine I'll get this one done today, which will be fantastic news for Andy. We are, today I believe we are the 21st of December, year of our Lord 2021, so he's going to get us back for Christmas, which will really please him no end. It'll make me happy as well. And it will have a fine guitar. So moving on, we're just going to remove the scratch plate. Just so we can get at the pots. Okay. Just finish off with the regular screwdriver. I doubt these have ever been removed. Because we have scratchy pots. Now in the neck pocket here we have some letters, looks like it could possibly be LG, and 505, so maybe this is an RG505 body. Was there ever such a model? I'd wager it probably was, or it's just stands for 500 series, maybe 550, I don't know. It is always possible that these guitars always used a slightly better body, slightly better neck from later models or higher spec models. So what do we have there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 screw system there. Make sure that is all of them. Seems to be all of them. Okay, so how much leeway have we got? We are going to a layer of, well, it's a bit of chamois leather. Right, what always surprises me a little bit is this is an import type switch. They're not that fantastic. Though Ibanez did have some manufacturers, but these, you could pick these up for about £1.30. There are also small pots in there, which is a surprise. I'd have expected to have seen full-size pots in here. No wonder they're crackling. They are really very old. They're not even branded, that I can tell. I would have liked to have seen alpha pots in there at the very, very least. Maybe some generic Japanese brand, but it doesn't appear to be anything spectacular. But what we're going to do is we are going to give them a clean rather than replace them, because if we can clean them and leave them in there, it saves me a lot of hassle, because I don't have to unpick all this solder and rewrite everything and resolder everything. I could do without that. It seems to have a treble bleed kit on the volume, which is fantastic. It means when you roll the volume down, you don't lose the tone or you don't lose the treble. Something I like to install myself. So going with some Service Old Super 10 switch cleaner. Going to give a good squirt in there. A big squirt and a big squirt in there. Far too much, but that's fine, it will evaporate. And we're just going to make sure everything is covered up so we don't scratch anything, because we need to work this stuff in. These pots certainly have a nice sweep, they're nice and solid. And do I think this is going to work? I'd be surprised if it did on pots this old. It's going to be quite annoying if I have to replace the pots, because I don't have any in stock. I have to order something and it's not going to be done till after Christmas. So let me go and power up. Actually, I need to power up anything I can get. It will lead straight into the amp, which is what I'm going to do when I find a guitar lead. So bear with me. And all being well, I'd say these pots have never been cleaned. We've never had any switch cleaning in there in the whole time. Did we say it was in 1998 guitar? I think we did originally. So we are in 1998, so 3 years old, this guitar. But pots do clean up. Let's not worry just yet. So let's get switch in the middle. You never know, we might be okay. So the amp is on. No scratching there. No scratching there. That's fabulous. Tone's working. Tiny bit of a scratch toward the end. No scratching on the volume anymore, so that's that problem fixed. A little bit of scratching on the tone, so we're going to go with another squirt Super 10, and for good measure another squirt inside the volume. And we're going to work it in upside down this time. The volume is certainly doing very, very well. Let's turn it this way again. Get some volume right up there. So volume. No scratching on the volume. No scratching on the tone, so the switch cleaner has done its job. And that's a very, very nice surprise. So, job done. Very happy with that. So the scratching pots problem is fixed. So all we need to do now is put the guitar back together, get the neck back on, get the locking nuts back on, and we can get it all strung up and set up again. Good news indeed. Again, moving on. I didn't remove the strings completely from the Floyd Rose or the Ibanez version of the Floyd Rose earlier, so I'm going to remove these dead bits of string I cut off. And I cannot stress the importance of this enough. When you're working on a Floyd Rose or a Floyd Rose type tremolo or a double locking tremolo like this is, get the very best Allen wrenches you can. Do not skimp and do not go and buy the crap tin pot metal ones, because they will shear, or they will shear the threads, or not the threads, the inserts on these. Get good steel ones. I have a steel set by McAllister, top quality gear. I think this set cost me no more than £10. £10 Great British pounds sterling, or Great British pounds, and they are fabulous. You cannot get, well, you can get better, but not much better. So use the very best Allen wrenches and use the right size one, this being a 3mm one. And we're just going to loosen these saddle screws, well, not string lock screws. I love the older type of these. I don't like the ones where they're inside there. They are the below pro versions. I like the original older versions. So this, I believe, is an Edge tremolo system based on the original Floyd Rose, for which I have a couple of Floyd Rose equipped guitars. But the very best Floyd Rose type tremolo, in my opinion, is the Japanese made Goto one. There's really actually Goto parts on this guitar, but there you go, and that is the strings removed. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and get in here. I'm going to get a cotton bud, get in here, get all the dust out, clean it up. Most of the work you can do just with a soft brush. I use an old clothes brush, use this for many things, but that's always good just for getting some of the dust out into these nooks and crannies. Now you could always get an air canister and blow in there. I actually do have some compressed air canisters knocking about. I don't mean canisters, I mean the actual tins, which I might give them a go. Always also remember, we need to set these halfway. In fact, I should be putting that one in. That one all the way in. That one all the way out. And sticking this one in the middle. Then you get the same amount of adjustment up and down. Like a bit less adjustment at the top. So that's about right there. So we are going to bring these up all to the same level, and that gives us a neutral position where we can go up and down. I'm just going to remove this out. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 turns is enough on each one from the top. So do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So your 5 half turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are all 5 half turns anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have them all level, or just about level. Gives us 5. We've got about 8 or 9 turns downwards and 5 upwards. So it gives us plenty of manoeuvrability on the fine tuners there. Just going to get in there with a cotton bud in a minute, clean all that area, and once that's done we can get this back on the guitar. Great piece of kit. I love these Ibanez tremolos, they're really good. My favourite, it's very hard for me to say which is my favourite Floyd Rose, because I really have a soft spot. Not a soft spot, it's just a great love and passion for the actual Goto, which is licensed under the Floyd Rose patent, and to me it's built better than the original Floyd Rose. The engineering is just amazing, it's second to none, and you just know in your hand it is absolute quality. In fact, I have one over here of one of my other guitars. Let me show you the quality of this. So this is an Ibanez version of a Floyd Rose. It's slightly different shaped, but it's using the same pattern. This is the Goto version. Now this is gold in colour, but this is just absolute precision. I love everything about this. Not that this is any worse or is inferior, because that is equally as well made as this is. But something about Goto's. There's a Goto. Craftsmanship of that is fantastic. And something else I have. I actually do have an official original 1986 Floyd Rose. And again, fantastic craftsmanship. But these fine tuners are not as good as you get on the Goto. And this Ibanez, in fact the Ibanez are probably slightly better than the Goto, I was saying. They're very, very similar. So I would not be surprised if Goto had something to do with manufacturing this Ibanez version. So that's an original Floyd Rose, don't get me wrong. Fabulous, fabulous piece of kit. I will find a guitar for that one day. It's a 1986 version with the old style locking arm. That's a Goto version. As it says there, Goto, great piece of kit. Made in Japan, brass block on these by default. Steel, I believe, or it could be a brass block, steel or brass on there, and again probably a cast type block on there. So out of the three, that's got the best block on it by miles. So Goto, the original Floyd Rose, Ibanez Edge 2, I believe. Fantastic tremolos in their own right. So we've got that stripped, got that ready for more or less ready for new strings. I'm just going to get cotton wood in there, clean that up, and then we're going to get it back on the guitar and we'll look at setting the guitar up. So let's crack on. We have a tremolo more or less set where it needs to be, propped up on a stack of old business cards, some of my old business cards, just to hold it in the position it needs to be. We have set the springs, I've set the claw right back so it's pulling tighter than it needs to. I'll explain more about that later. That's all for when we set the tremolo up later on. So the tremolo's sitting perfectly horizontal to the body where it should be. We are ready to install the new strings. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it off camera. I'm going to stick a new set of Diodario 1046s on there, or you probably know them as EXL 110s. I'll be cutting off the correct side. Some people nowadays tend to put the ball end through the string and leave a ball end on there. I don't actually like to do that. I like to stick them on the original way. So that's exactly what I will be doing. I'll be cutting the ball end off and sticking that bit in a saddle lock, just so, or saddle block should I say. This is all about getting the strings in. We don't have this set perfectly level just yet. Let's separate the strings. I will explain more on setting up the tremolo a little bit later. It's all about getting the strings on that and getting pretty close to tension. So, get myself a good cutter. Hilker brand, guaranteed for life, decent brand. They're a very good brand actually. I used to buy a lot of their tools, guaranteed for life, so I know they're good quality. They're not Snap-on or McAllister or Mac tools, but these and Nielsen are great tools in their own right. Anything that comes with a lifetime guarantee and is made of vanadium steel is going to be pretty much alright. So, I'm going to need the tremolo arm in just to help me along while I undo these screws. So we need the right size Allen wrench. Something I should have done a little bit earlier was loosen these. Like I say, it's all about just getting the strings in for now. First one is always the most difficult because I need three hands. I need to hold that in, hold the tremolo in place, and tighten the locking adjuster there. I need to get the Allen key in first, and there you go. And we are in. Good turn there, and that's the first one on. I always like to come in through the back. I like to get at least 1.5 turns on the bottom E string. Just bear with me. Or wraps rather than turns. I do like wraps around posts. Always have done. You see me mention it in a lot of my videos. And again, what we're going to do is I'm going to do the same on the 5th string. I'm going to get that one in. And you can see exactly where this is going. So again, something I can do off camera and will do off camera. Just going to get this one in. And with the business cards in place there, I can just about get this one tightened up. If I can't, I'll just loosen it off with the tremolo again. Make sure we've got a good lock on there. And that's nice. Don't over tighten these. And there you go. So I'm going to do exactly the same for the rest of the strings. I'm going to slightly over tighten. Again here, I'm going to want about a couple of turns around the post. At least 1.5, probably go for 2. I do like wraps around posts. I mentioned that before. Bet I have. So pretty boring for you lot. So I've also got this one on. I'll turn the camera off. I'm going to get all the strings on. I'll bring you back in when I'm ready to set up the tremolo. And then again, I might not do that tonight. I might do it tomorrow. Getting towards finishing right about now. That's got actually 3 turns around the post. That's fine. A half more than I would have. But that's fine. Plenty of turns on this one. I can cut this one right down. And I'm going to get the rest of the strings on. And whether I come back later or come back tomorrow, we'll see. So you notice the pickups are still low in the cavities. Don't worry about that. We'll sort all that out a little bit later. So I'm going to get the strings in. And next part of the process will be to stretch the strings in and start getting this tremolo set up. Guys, I realised I strung this up with 10s and I should be putting 9s on there, so I'm going to be sticking a set of Fingerboard 942s on. So I'm going to swap these out one string at a time because it's easier to do that way, allegedly. I've always done all 6 in one go, but I'm going to do it one at a time now. It made no difference if I did it either way. Okay, I've wasted this set of strings, that's no big deal. It's my mistake, it's not a problem. And I do stock plenty of strings. And I don't pay full price for strings. So I'm going to, one by one, swap the strings out. Once that's done, I will bring you back in and we'll get to setting this tremolo properly. Welcome back, friends. We are next day, in fact we're Boxing Day, year of our Lord 2021, and I'm going to, even from this angle, I'm going to try and show you and explain how we set up the tremolo. Now if you remember last time, I'd told you I'd put 10 gauge strings on there and I wanted 9s, or the client wanted 9s, so I swapped the strings over. I've just altered the pickle heights. Just to get them where I need them to be. I think we're just about right there. So I'll put 9s on, excuse me. I've stretched them in. The locking nuts are in place but they're not tightened yet. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check the tuning, stretch the strings in one more time. And I'm motor guitar's flat. I've also set the intonation. I'm going to move each of the saddles back that way or toward the camera, just a little on some of them, and significantly a little bit more on others. I'm just stretching these strings in one last time, and don't think I'm going to set the tuning with the guitar laying down. I'm going to actually get it in the playing position shortly, because we always set intonation and tuning in an upright playing position. And I'm going to show you how we actually set the tremolo level. I'm going to try to. So let's recap. We have the springs under the tremolo tightened all the way in, so this is pulling back a lot more than it needs to. We have the tremolo blocked with these business cards underneath, so it's perfectly level, and we have the guitar more or less in tune. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on my knee. You're not going to see it for a second or two, and I'm just going to tune the guitar in. In the playing position. See what difference it makes from being in a horizontal position to being in playing position. We're almost a quarter of a semitone out. I will do a little recap in a second. Well, that is perfectly in tune. The tune has just dropped on the floor. That's only because I'm using such a short cable. So we are in tune. I'm not going to alter anything. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to lock the clamps, because I know the guitar is in perfect tune. I'm going to clamp everything off. So we have the strings locked down. So we're locked here and we're locked here. Now, whatever this says, D is sharp, G is a little bit flat, B is bang on, E is bang on, E and A tiny bit flat. What we're going to do now is we're going to remove these business cards, and with the springs on the back, everything should go sharp. Remember also, we have these fine tuners in the halfway position, so we're able to alter up and down. We remove these business cards, everything should now fly sharp. And we are sharp. A is now a B, D is now an E, E is now an F sharp, this E is now an F. What we need to do is now we're going to loosen, we're going to turn over. To bring us back in tune, all we have to do is loosen these two claw springs, relieve the tension, and once the A string drops in tune, all the other strings will be in tune. The tremolo will be fully floating, so we've got upward and downward movement, so we can pull back or we can dive bomb. And this is a little bit of guesswork, and I'd normally do it in a slightly different position than this, but I'm going to release both screws, same amount. I'm going to keep it horizontal or in line with this line of the guitar. And all I'm going to do at the moment is release that claw spring just a little. I'm going to put the guitar back in the playing position. I'm going to twang the A string. We are still A sharp, so I'm going to do exactly the same again. Hopefully you can see a little bit. I'm going to keep the guitar in this position. It's on my lap. And again, I'm going to release the claw. Just a couple of turns. I don't know if you can see where you are. And I'm going to check tuning again. I'm still sharp on everything, which is brilliant. Again, let me just put the guitar there. Maybe you can you see? Yeah, I think you can see what I'm doing. So again, I'm just going to, I wouldn't normally have the guitar over on this bench to do this job, but I'd normally be in daylight. I'm still early doors in the morning. I've been up since 5:30, I think I was up this morning. I made a cup of tea, come straight in the workshop, listen to a sermon, then I come straight on this guitar. A's a little bit flat, E's flat. So a little bit flat, so I just need to slightly, ever so slightly, just bring these claw screws back in. I'm going to go like an eighth of a turn each side and see where we are. D and A is still flat, the E and A is still flat, the D is a little bit sharp, so a little turn inside, and I think we're going to be pretty close. Oh, we're still a little bit sharp now, so again, just release ever so slightly. Just flatten everything a little. A is spot on. E is a little bit. Now we're going to use the fine tuners. Because the tremolo is exactly horizontal now where we want it to be. The guitar is now in perfect tune. We have a tremolo floating, so we've got downward and backward movement, and that is how we set the tremolo. Everything over tensioned with a stack of business cards underneath to keep the tremolo where it needs to be. Remove them, it'll pull back, release the claw springs until the tremolo comes up a little bit more. Once it's close to tune, we just set the last final tuning on fine tuners. We have a guitar now locked down, we have it in perfect tune. Something I had not mentioned, I had set the relief in the neck to 0.25 millimeters between the 5th and 7th frets, so here. An action of 1.75 mil on the bass side, 1.5 mil on the treble side. That is all set. We've set the pickup height, we've set everything, we've cleaned all of the pots. The guitar's at a fret level, recrown and fret polish, so it's had an intensive setup with a fret level. Set up tremolo, restrung it, everything is all done. That is the guitar finished. So what I'm going to do is wait for some good daylight, and I'm going to do the final part of this video. We'll recap everything that we've done, and we'll get it back to its owner. Right, friends, we are all done with this very, very nice Ibanez RG470, made in Japan. This is more or less the top of the range from that day. It has a 500 series neck, probably a 500 series body. It's a Wizard 2 neck, I believe. It has an edge tremolo. Not sure which version, but it's my favourite version. It's really, really good. It's solid. So let's just recap what we've done with this. Well, it came in, never had a fret job. It did need the frets levelling. We have levelled the frets, so we skimmed across the frets, levelled them all. We've re-radiused them, polished them all up. Set the guitar back up. Initially I put 10s on there, was never going to be right, took them off, put 9s back on. I've set the intonation, set the action, given a proper setup, set the tremolo. Something else we needed to do was clean the pots. They were really, really scratching, quite horrible. They are not scratching at all now. I've just had it plugged in, had a play of it, sounds fantastic. It is as metal as you can get, but it will do really nice cleans as well. Fabulous looking guitar for a 1998. I doubt very much you'd find one as good as this anywhere else. So Andy has really, really looked after this over the years. Lovely guitar, and I could not have done anything better than I have done. So that is this one finished. We are 26th of December, year of our Lord 2021, so Boxing Day to most of you. I'm going to drop this round to Andy shortly. Gratis, because he only lives about 3 miles away, and I did say to him I was going to try and get it done for Christmas. I didn't get the chance to get it done before Christmas, but he's not upset at all. He'll be really happy with this anyway, and that is it. That is not the last project I'm doing this year, but you know, right up there with the last ones. I've got a couple more I'm going to look at before the new year. that I then workshop, but that is this one done. So before I do go, I want to remind you of my website, fretfriend.co.uk, even better, and there's a lot more information on Facebook. So facebook.com/NG17. That's facebook.com/NGONESEVEN. I am Victor. I am your Fret Friend. And that is it till the next time. So as always, God bless you. Be good to each other. And I'll see you in the next one.